Hi guys, I'm Vishwaraj Gupta. I'm a data engineer. Guys, this is part two of my previous video. I've created how we can connect our Tableau dashboards with Amazon S3 using Athena. So this is part two. In this video, I'm going to share my views, uh, the comparison between Amazon Athena and Redshift Spectrum. So I won't go in Athena detail, so you can watch my first video on Amazon Athena. I have explained each and every prerequisites and why do we need Glue and how we can connect Tableau with Amazon Athena. So this is slide 2 where I'm showing how Redshift Spectrum is connected. So guys, major difference between Amazon Athena and Redshift. Amazon Athena connects to your S3 bucket, but Redshift Spectrum can connect to your S3 bucket as well as the tables which is in Redshift itself. So Redshift Spectrum, as you know, it is a part of Redshift. So Redshift Spectrum, since it is a part of Redshift, it can query on Redshift table, plus you can join that table with the S3 table. So this is the advantage over Athena, whereas Athena can just, it points directly to S3 bucket, and Redshift Spectrum points to Redshift as well as Amazon S3, even separately, and even you can join them together, Redshift table and Amazon S3 table. So that is biggest advantage of Redshift Spectrum. But as you know, Athena, there is no like setup cost, and whereas Redshift Spectrum, since it is a part of Redshift, so you should have a Redshift cluster in AWS, then only you can use Redshift Spectrum. So why do we need Redshift Spectrum? So for example, just imagine you have your hot data in Redshift, and the old cold data is in Amazon S3. Amazon S3, you have created data lakes in Amazon S3, and you have data in S3 bucket just like since 2001, starting from 2001 to 2018. All the data is there, and the fresh hot data is in Redshift table. So as you know, like in generally we use recent cohort data, so definitely you're gonna query a lot. But the data which is there in S3 bucket, so from 2001 to 2018, you do not need that data so frequent that you are querying every day. So you have kept that data in S3 bucket, which is good, because then you don't have to spend extra money for that data which you are not using. So you are just paying S3 bucket normal charges, whereas Redshift is expensive. So if you're gonna keep your, like the complete all the years, whatever database you have kept in Redshift, it will be a very expensive. So just once in a year, or like twice or thrice in a year, if you really want to query on the old data, you can always use Redshift Spectrum. So Redshift Spectrum plays a vital role when you have to query on your S3 tables. So as I have mentioned, you have data from like 2001 to 2018, which makes it like 5 terabytes of data in S3 bucket. So as you know, if you'll query on that 5 terabytes of data using Redshift Spectrum, the cost is same, which is $5 per 5 terabytes. So, oh, sorry, $5 per terabyte scan, not 5 terabytes, $5 per terabyte scan. So just imagine, so if you have 5 terabytes in all those 18 years, so just imagine you'll have to pay $25, but you'll get a clear picture of your old data. So here, since like in my previous presentation, I've mentioned all these points, prerequisites related to Athena, but in Redshift Spectrum, you just need S3 bucket here. So source bucket for Redshift to query. So just imagine if you want to query an S3 table. So of course, you need that table in a bucket. So your existing bucket is this one. Plus, you should have Redshift cluster, and you should have IAM user role. So IAM user role, guys, this is the basic necessity whenever you have to do any activity. If you want to connect any service in AWS, definitely you need IAM role. And JDBC Redshift endpoint, that is for sure to connect to your Amazon, sorry, Tableau part. So here is the small picture where I've mentioned all these details, that in server you have to mention your JDBC Redshift endpoint. In database, you'll mention the external database which you will create. So in the second point, if you see Redshift cluster, external schema, external table, database, username and password. So guys, just imagine you have you already have a cluster in Redshift, and you have a database there, plus you have your username and password. So these three things will be there. If you have Redshift cluster, all these three things will be there. So what new you have to create to work on Redshift Spectrum? So this external schema and external table. So why it is mentioned external? Because this will be completely outside Redshift. So you gonna grab Amazon S3 table in Redshift, but that will be just an external schema there in Redshift. So let me share. So guys, this is create external schema. So just imagine, just everything will be same, whatever you want to create. So this will be your schema name, Spectrum schema. So you can keep anything, whatever you want. And this will be from data catalog. And just imagine you have database in Redshift. For example, if you already have a database there, just mention the same database Spectrum DB. And here is the role, whatever role you have created to connect your Redshift and S3 bucket, this will be the role there. And this is the last statement you have to mention if it doesn't exist. So you don't just create another schema or database which is similar to this one. So this is the first thing what you do, and then you have to create external table. So once your schema is there, it will be visible. Then you can, in the editor of Redshift cluster, you can create Redshift, create external table. So table name would be spectrum.sales, whatever name you want to keep. And if you do not want to mention all these points like sales ID and everything, so you can just close the bracket here after sales, opening bracket and closing bracket, and then you can start from this line: row format delimited, fields terminated by tab, stored as text file, and the location. So location is, guys, where your S3 table is located. So the table you want to grab using Redshift Spectrum. So this should be the location of that bucket and the prefix. So guys, these two things, creating external schema and creating external table. So you cannot create schema or create table because that will be for Redshift. But for Redshift Spectrum, since you are going to query outside Redshift, that is our S3 table, so you have to create external part here, which will make sure that everything will be external, nothing related to Redshift. And plus, once you have created this one, you can always query. And I did practical on this one, so I want to share my views on this one, that how it is different from Athena and Redshift Spectrum. So guys, like so there was a non-compressed file, 175 GB. There were 300 million rows in that CSV file, and I just used Python to compress that, and you won't believe it, 175 GB. Once I converted into gzip, it was converted into 18 GB file. And even if you make a Parquet file of the same 175 GB, then also it was coming similar at around 18 GB. So just imagine $5 is per terabyte, the charge for Redshift and Amazon Athena. So if you have like maybe 5 terabytes of data, you can easily gzip it, and you can just make it 1 terabyte. So yes, so it will be just 1 terabyte file. And just imagine, rather than paying $25, you'll just have to pay $5 per scan. So what I did query on Athena. I found out that in 15 minutes I could receive 25 million rows, and in 30 minutes I could get 45 million rows. That was like an excellent result, because sometimes you don't need these many rows, but sometimes you're looking for some compressed, or maybe like as we say, pivot kind of table analysis in Athena. So this is Athena is very good if you do not have Redshift. But if you have Redshift and you are already paying for your clusters, so definitely you can use Athena, since there is no setup cost. But Redshift Spectrum is same one and same thing, because you pay $5 per terabyte, which is equal to Amazon Athena cost. So Athena, there is output. I have mentioned Athena gives same output above mentioned tables, but the pricing in compressed table, as I've mentioned, I compressed 175 GB file into 18 GB, which was very good. And in Redshift Spectrum, as I've mentioned, Redshift Spectrum is one step ahead from Athena, because Athena, just as you can see in this architecture, Athena connects with S3. But in Redshift Spectrum, you can connect either with S3, you can connect with Redshift table as well, and you can join them. So, and then eventually you can get your tables, just one time cost, and then you can have that table in Tableau. You don't, whenever you refresh Tableau dashboard, it doesn't mean that you are paying $5. That table has already been fetched by Redshift Spectrum, so it will be there. But there will be no fresh data. I mean, if you had updated something in 2011 data, then you'll have to run that query again, but the old data can be connected to Tableau. So there are a few key points. So Athena is serverless with no setup costs. As you can see, all the points are almost similar in Athena and Redshift. And I've mentioned some key points. So, like practical example, in Athena, there is 1 terabyte of data until year 2018 and doesn't get updated. So, as I've mentioned, there is old data which you do not, which you do not use it, so it is an old data. But even if you need it, so just imagine, you just have to query one time, you have to pay $5, and your table is created in one S3 bucket, which can definitely connect to that Tableau. And that Tableau will be for years or months, whatever suits you, it will be there. If you want to check any old query, or old if you want to check that old data and to make some analysis accordingly until 2018, you can always use Athena. And in Redshift, there are a lot of examples. For example, first example is same, and in second example, there is 1 terabyte of data until year 2018 in S3 bucket, and 4 terabyte of data in Redshift. So 1 terabyte of data until year 2018, which is an old data, and 4 terabytes of data, which is in Redshift, which is a hot data, which you are querying every day, which all of your analysts are querying and making reports and everything. So, you need some analysis starting from year 2016 until 2021. So what you'll do, you will run a join query using Redshift Spectrum on S3 table, that is external schema, and plus on Redshift table, which is on internal schema on Shift. So you can do that. Plus, third example, there is 5 terabytes of data in S3 bucket, which has all 100 columns and 1 billion rows are there. And in Redshift, there is a same table, but you have fetched, just 25 columns out of those 100 columns because that is your requirement. So all those 100 columns and 1 billion rows are there in S3 bucket because you do not use all those 100 columns. But for the hot table, you have created another table which is in Redshift with just important 25 columns. So, you always query on those 25 columns, which is a good thing. But in case in future, or if in any situation, if you have to grab all those, maybe not 100 columns, but if you want to grab like 60 70 columns, you can always use Redshift Spectrum and grab those columns from S3 bucket. But the advantage of Redshift Spectrum is like it is, if it is needed like once in a year, then your data, all those 100 columns and 1 billion rows were in just S3 bucket, which doesn't cost much. So that is the advantage of S3 bucket. You keep your cold data in there and the hot data in Redshift. Practical example 4, it is similar to example 3, that where you have stored full data in S3, and it's the grouped data, what we say in like pivot table in Excel, you have stored it in Redshift. So so there are a lot of advantages, but as I've mentioned here, Athena can save more than $300 per month for even 1 terabyte of data. So let me share practical example with you. I'll just go in AWS pricing calculator here. So just to show you, if I'll go to Amazon Athena, since it is here, let me go to configure. So guys, I'm here. I won't mention all the details, but I'm just going to show you. So just imagine you have Amazon Athena and a total number of queries. Just imagine in a per month, if I do one query and let's say 1 terabyte of data, as you can see, there will be $5 cost. So $5 is the cost for Athena query. So let me go back. Let's check S3 bucket cost. I'm just taking standard one. So that $5 plus the amount of data you have here. Example, 5 terabytes of data, or just let's keep it 1 terabyte of data. As you can see, just $23 here. So roughly like $28 $29 is like monthly charge if you run one query in Athena, and your 1 terabyte of data in S3 bucket, just like 28 pounds, $28. So now let me show you Redshift, that if you go with Redshift, so remember, for Redshift Spectrum you should have Redshift cluster, and without paying any setup cost you cannot use Redshift. So guys, Redshift instance, they go with nodes. So if you have one node, just let's take just one node, and this is DC8 large. Let's see the cost of this one. 3,504 US dollars. So guys, it depends how much data you want to keep. It's up to you. 1 terabyte, there will be this cost. Doesn't matter you keep it or not. So let's make it DS to, let's take it 31. This is the smallest one. So you can see there is $620. So guys, you see for Athena and S3 bucket, as I've mentioned, was around $28 cost, plus I mean, if you query like 2 3 times, there will be $5 per terabyte. So I mean, it won't go more than $50, but in here, this is just the setup cost for Redshift Spectrum, $620. And I believe you would need at least DS2 large to query, because all these nodes, it's like, node is just like your CPU. Depends, how much memory you want, how much power you want when you are going to query in Redshift. So I believe this is like the basic one. There must be something less than this, but I believe this is like the basic one if you're going for at least not 1 terabyte, I mean less than 1 terabyte data or something. But you can compare $28 plus $620, so this is the difference between this one. But I guess Athena is very good in terms of, if you are just starting with AWS and some of your database is still in a Microsoft SQL Server or Oracle, you can start with Amazon S3 and Athena, and you can just connect your Tableau dashboards using Athena connector, and you can use your Tableau dashboard just with Tableau desktop in Athena. So this is the one. Guys, this is it. So just wanted to share it with you that Athena and Redshift Spectrum, both are like super popular, but there is a cost behind this. So according to me, Athena is powerful. I like the console. The setup is very different. You grab the results very quickly and your data is stored in S3 bucket. Same is with Redshift, but it comes with a cost. It depends how many nodes you are taking in Redshift. So guys, that's it. Thank you very much.